Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back. My name is Ania and today I'm going to be sharing with you a story about how I fell down the stairs when I was 8 weeks pregnant. Obviously this was a very scary situation for me, so a lot of time has passed by and everything is 100% okay, which is the reason I can now speak about this story without really getting emotional about it. At the beginning I was very scared. I mean, I would definitely say the most scared I have ever been with any of my 2 pregnancies, and it was a really hard thing to go through, but thank God everything turned out super fine and everything was okay, so I definitely thank God for that. So it was a Friday afternoon and I had to go to school that weekend. I typically go to school Friday evenings and all day on Saturday when I have school scheduled. So my mother-in-law was here taking care of Sebastian that afternoon. I was upstairs just gathering my things, packing my bag to go to school because I had done absolutely everything to that point to take care of everything that had to do with my son Sebastian. So I was upstairs just gathering my things, putting my computer in my bag, and my son was downstairs with my mother-in-law on his high chair and she was feeding him some food. So at the time, this was actually about mid-January, so at the time he was about 1 year and 2 months old, and he was sitting on his high chair, all strapped up, of course, but we have one of those high chairs that you put, it's not really a high chair. You prop it on a chair, on your own chair of like a normal dining room. Actually, that's the reason why there's only 3 chairs on the dining room table right now, because one of those chairs is the one that has the high chair component on top of it. So you strap it there and you sit the baby. I think it's typically made for homes that are not that large, and so you can't have like an extra piece of furniture just for the high chair, and you buy this, you know, very convenient thing that you put on top of a normal chair and you transform it into a baby's high chair. So he was sitting on there and she was feeding him, and again I was upstairs, so all that I could hear was just him eating and she was talking to him and everything was fine. All of a sudden I just hear a very loud bang, and immediately after that I hear him crying, and immediately thereafter my mother-in-law screams my name very loudly. I cannot explain the thoughts and the emotions that really took over my body at that moment, but I became panicked, and it was just in a moment's notice that I wanted to be in the moment, right where I needed to be, right next to my son. I wanted to know what was going on and what happened, and I didn't think about anything else, nothing else. So I immediately left where I was and began to come downstairs. As I was, you know, rushing downstairs from upstairs, when I stood on top of the very ledge of the stairs, I jumped. Instead of actually taking the steps down the stairs, I just jumped to the bottom. So if you could think about it, it was as if I thought I could fly. I literally jumped, and as soon as I became airborne, I knew it was a mistake. Number one, I didn't make it all the way down the stairs because of course, you know, I fell down. And I landed on my butt, specifically on my left hip, and probably about halfway down the stairs I started to slide down the rest of the way. So I ended up sliding down the rest of halfway down the stairs, like boom all the way down. Immediately after I landed at the foot of the stairs, of the steps, I got up and ran towards my son. I was in pain. I felt the pain. I was you know, I understood. I definitely felt it, but it wasn't my concern at that moment. My pain was definitely secondary to what was going on with my child. So when I get to the kitchen where my son was in his high chair, in fact, what had happened to him was that he pushed up against the table his feet, and the chair where he was sitting fell backwards with him sitting on it. He was fine. He was just a little bit scared. He didn't hurt his head. He didn't hurt any limbs. He was just a little bit like, you know, kind of thrown off by the whole thing. I immediately unstrapped him. I carried him a little bit up and down, and he was perfectly fine after that. As a matter of fact, maybe 5 minutes later, I was playing with him and he was just absolutely perfect. Nothing, you know, nothing happened. It was just that scared, kind of like startled reaction that you would have if, you know, if you were to all of a sudden hear a bang and fall, or fall and hear a bang. So I was really happy about that. But I did tell my husband, hey, I did this, and I explained to him what happened, and I told him I'm in a lot of pain on my leg. And now the tables turn, right? Because if it was just about me, I wouldn't care, you know, that I was doing this for my son, and I was running down the stairs and I thought I could fly, and I just leaped and, you know, made that huge mistake. But it wasn't only about me. At that moment, I started beginning to think, what about my baby? What about the one that is inside my belly right now? And I felt extreme guilt, because I felt in that moment that I had not taken care of that baby, that I was in my mind still just taking care of Sebastian. And it was so emotionally consuming for me not to know that everything was okay in that moment with the baby that was inside my belly, the baby that was growing, the baby I had asked God for, the baby we had prayed for and God had granted us. I mean, I felt like I was being irresponsible with that beautiful gift, and it was such a shock to just realize something could really be wrong here, and it's my fault. It's my fault. So immediately my leg began to get really red, like very red, and the pain was definitely there. And I told my husband, maybe we should go to the hospital. Maybe we should go to the hospital, get things checked out, and see, you know, what if anything we can do to make sure that everything is okay with our baby. So I went to the hospital. I told them, you know, I know that I'm pregnant. I have a pregnancy test that says I'm pregnant, but I haven't actually gone to my first appointment with the gynecologist yet. The doctor got there, and he got there with an iPhone and some type of like plug-in thing with his iPhone. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, oh, it's an ultrasound like function. I'm like, what? So he actually gave me an ultrasound with a component that you can hook up to an iPhone, and his iPhone screen actually showed the image of the baby. And so he put everything on my belly and did the ultrasound, and he told me, yep, I see the baby is there, everything's fine, there is no sign of internal bleeding whatsoever, and there's also a heartbeat. So definitely best case scenario in all aspects. He said baby was so little at that point that he was really not concerned, given that there was a heartbeat, there was no internal bleeding, there wasn't any other signs that I, you know, had done anything catastrophic, that he was really comfortable with letting me know that everything was fine. And especially I was gonna go see my doctor on Monday anyway. So he said, you know, just schedule, you know, everything as usual, and go from there, but you should rest assured everything is fine. And as a matter of fact, he did say in the end, you know, unfortunately, even if it wasn't because it's so early in the pregnancy, there is nothing that we could do. So I definitely thank God that nothing was actually wrong, because in fact that is correct. You know, if I would have done something that would be that I couldn't come back from at the 8-week mark, you know, that would have been it. That would have been it, and that would have been completely devastating. So thank God everything turned out well. Sebastian is doing great. You know, nothing bad happened to him. And yes, my leg got really bruised. I mean, it was like a black and blue of like life, but I was, you know, no broken bones, everything was fine. And the lesson learned was that number one, I have two kids to look after, and number two, I can't fly. I think I will remember that for life. I cannot fly. So no matter what the circumstances are, I think I'm going to be a lot more careful next time, because I cannot fly. So thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.